Reading is essential for those who seek to rise above the ordinary. So, one very common advice that every successful person gives is that you should start reading. So, for me, I started reading a few years ago when I started my self improvement journey. When I started learning how to improve myself, reading is a very important step to improving yourself and becoming a better version of yourself. So in this video, I'm going to share with you all the books I've read throughout this year, since January till the book I'm currently reading right now in December. And I hope this video will inspire you in any way to pick up the habit of reading, because reading is just too important. Some of the books I read were physical hard copy books, while others were ebooks which I read on my phone. So for those that are not physical, right here with me, I will put up the picture for you to see them. Now, I actually made a video like this last year, how many books I read in 2022. You can check it out. This is like the second season or the second part of it, and I think I'm going to be doing this stuff yearly. So at the end of every year, I'll be telling you guys all the books I've read during the year and some of the things I've learned from these books. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more videos on self-improvement, how you can develop yourself, become a better version of yourself. And let's get right into it. So the first book I read, which I feel is like the most important book of all, is the Bible. The Holy Bible. There is no other book as important as the Bible, which is the Word of God. So if you want to learn how the world works, how to dominate your world, then you have to learn from the Creator himself, from the owner and the maker of the world, which is God. So the Holy Bible is my number one book that I read. I read the Bible as much as I can. I try to read the Bible a lot and to learn a lot from the Bible. Now, apart from the Bible, the first book which I read this year is this book called Retire Young, Retire Rich by Robert Kiyosaki. Now, this book is an interesting book. Robert Kiyosaki is the guy who wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad. So you might know Rich Dad Poor Dad. He's also the author of this book, Retire Young, Retire Rich. And this book is an amazing book. It just breaks down the step-by-step plan for you to make money at a very young age, make a lot of money, right, and retire early. So by the time, instead of you retiring when everyone is retiring at the age of 60, 65, you retire young. Retire as early as 30, as early as 40, right? So this book is a great book. I recommend this book. It's a very nice book. The second book which I read this year is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. Now, to be truthful, I did not finish this book. I think I read it to like half or so and stopped. But it's actually a great book, right? The guy talks about how to build up good habits, the habits that you need if you want to become effective. So a great book. Definitely I'll still finish it later on. Now, the third book that I read is the book Signposts on the Road to Success. Now, this one is a very good book which I recommend. It talks about different things you're going to see on the journey to success and how you can go about them, right? It talks about a lot of amazing things. The nice book. Moving on, the next book which I read this year is The Millionaire Fast Lane by MJ DeMarco. Now, I made a separate video about this when I read it because it was an amazing book. This book talks about how you can become a millionaire the fast way, right? It says there are 3 ways to become a millionaire. There's a sidewalk, there's a slow lane, and there's the fast lane to becoming a millionaire. A great book. You can check out the video after I finish this video. Amazing book. That's all I have to say about it. Moving on, the next book is this book called Sex, Youth and the Singles. Now, this is a great book. It actually talks about dating, about relationships, about young teenagers, young people, young adults It talks about dating the right way. It talks about what the Bible has to say about dating, about sex, and relationships. It's a great book which I like a lot. I learned a lot of things from this book. Now, the next book I read is The Power of Self-Discipline by Brian Tracy. This book. Now, funny enough, this is the second time I'm reading this book. I read it last year. I read this book last year and I started to read it again because it's that good. Right? You learn how you can overcome procrastination, how you can discipline yourself, because one major thing that I really work on is how I can become more disciplined. How to become more disciplined and more consistent. So The Power of Self-Discipline, How to Overcome Procrastination by Brian Tracy teaches a lot about being disciplined. So I started to read it again and I'm sure maybe next year I will read it again. So great book, you can check it out. The next book is The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Now this is not the real book. The real book is actually very big, the bigger one. This is just like a concise summary of the real book. It talks about different laws for power, right? So it tells you things you should do if you want to become powerful and things you should not do. So I also made a video about this. I picked about 14 laws out of it and talked about it on my channel. You can check the video out. You can watch it after this video. It's a great book. There are some things that are not right. You can actually use some of these things for evil. Like I mentioned before, make sure if you read this book, use it for only good, don't use it for evil, because you can use it for deceit, for manipulation, and for some evil things. But you can also use it for good, right? So make sure you use it for the right things only. Now, the next book I read this year is this book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. So also this is the second time or third time I'm reading this book, because I noticed that there are some times you need to reread some books again, right? It's not only just about reading and forget the ones you have read. So sometimes you have to go back and reread some of the books you have read to remember and recall what you have learned. And funny enough, one amazing thing about rereading books is that you will now see something that you have not seen before. Like this book now, when I read it again second time, I was seeing some things that it looks like I did not see the first time I read it, right? So it's a good book, great book. Think and Grow Rich talks about how you can think, the right mindset you should have if you want to become a rich person, a person of influence, of power, right? Because there's a way rich people think and there's a way poor people think. So if you want to become a rich person, you have to think in a certain way, right? Think right. Your mindset, your mentality has to be different from that of a poor person. So Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, great book. And the next book I read is this book. It's an ebook, the Contentpreneur ebook, written by Michael Drift. Now, Michael Drift is a YouTuber. He's also a YouTuber like me. He makes videos on YouTube. He makes content, and this book is all about how you can, monetize your content. How you can create great, amazing content for people. Content that will actually make a difference. Content that is actually valuable, right? So he talks about not just repeating old things, how you can become creative and turn content creation into a business. So it talks a lot about content, about YouTube and all of these things. So a great book for people like me that is into content creation. Now the next book which I read is this small book. It's called Now That You Are Born Again by Pastor Chris Oyakhilome. So I've been hearing a lot about this book. It's not just a book for new converts. If you are just new into Christianity, you just give your life to Christ, this is the book you should read, the first book you should read, Now That You Are Born Again. So it talks about Christ, about your life as a Christian, the things you should start doing, how your life is as a Christian, and some things you should not be doing, right? So he shares about the wonders and beauty of being a Christian, about Christ, about the love of Christ. So the great book, Now That You Are Born Again, Pastor Chris Oyakhilome, and I learned a lot from this book. Although I'm not a new convert, I'm not a new Christian, but I decided to read the book and just learn. You never stop learning, right? So I decided to read the book and I enjoyed myself reading this book. And finally, we have come to the last book, which is this book, The Millionaire Next Door. Now that you're born again, I just finished this about, I think, 2 weeks ago or so, 2 to 3 weeks ago. And this is the book I'm currently reading. In fact, I've not started, to be honest, but by the time this video goes up, I'm sure I'll have started reading it. This is the last book I'm going to read before the end of the year, before the year runs out. The Millionaire Next Door. I've read a lot about this book. Some people have recommended it, talked about it. That is a great book. Talks about stories of millionaires and how some of them became millionaires. So, The Millionaire Next Door is the book I'm presently reading. I'm not started, so it's a book I don't want to start reading right before the end. I'm going to finish it before the end of the year. Definitely I'm going to finish this, my last book of the year, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Although I didn't really read as much as I read last year. Last year I think I read more than up to 20 or more books. This is just about, I think, 10. This is about 10 books. So I didn't read as much as I read last year, and because of school. I'm on IT right now. There's exams we did. There's a lot of things that came up that just occupied my time this year. So, but still, I was able to read this. So I hope this video inspires you in one way or the other. Reading is not something too difficult. You can actually enjoy reading, right? I have some friends who think that you cannot read. In fact, I have a friend who does not like to read. But reading is an habit that you can develop, right? Even if you don't like to read, you can just decide to give yourself, even if 10 minutes a day in the morning or in the night. For me, I like reading in the morning. But you can say, I want to read just 10 minutes. So you sit down, you pick up a book, and you just sit down and read. And from there, you can develop the habit of reading. Because when you read, you actually learn a lot. There's so much you're going to learn when you read books. In fact, you think you did not know anything when you read books, because you so learn so much. You feel like you do not know anything. So reading is very important. I hope this video will help you, can encourage you. If you want to be a reader, you want to start reading, you can start reading. Even before the year runs out, you can pick up a book and just start reading a book. And that brings us to the end of this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more videos on improving yourself. And I'll end this video with this quote: you don't have to burn books to destroy a culture, just get people to stop reading them.